Thanks, guys, for coming back to join us. We're so excited to have you here this evening. So I get the honor of hosting such an amazing presentation. And I know that we're still having a couple people trickle in, but for the sake of time, and I know this is such a really exciting and important topic and a really great introduction to the Rady Action Project, that I don't want to delay this any longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. I am going to start our presentation. If you are new to this event, thank you so much for joining us. If this is if it's your first time, you're in for a real treat. If you've been here before for a Rady SIP session, we're really excited to have you. We have some special guests. I'll be going through some introductions. As we usually ask, if you have questions throughout the conversation and the presentation, please feel free to throw those in the chat. We'll try to answer them as we go. If we don't get a chance to answer your questions in the chat, we will make time at the end for us to kind of dive in and answer any questions that you might have. So without further ado, I'll introduce myself, which some of you already know. My name is Sophia. I'm the Associate Director of the Flex Evening MBA program. And I'm joined here by the other person that you should be readily familiar with, which is Miss Christina Cook, who is the executive, also the Associate Director of the Executive MBA program here. So one of our special guests who I'm really excited to introduce is John Massiana. He is the Assistant Dean of Graduate Programs, and I'll give you just a little background on John. He spent 15 years at UCI Irvine's Paul Merage School of Business. He held several leadership roles there. He was not just he was the executive director of not only the Flex MBA programs, but he also saw the MBA admissions department and marketing departments. So he took on a big role and a lot of responsibilities. He is also a UC San Diego grad. He graduated with his degree in cognitive science and his MBA from UC Irvine. And we're so lucky to have John, and he joined us in 2022, and now he oversees the graduate admissions department, the graduate student affairs department, and the careers management department. So if you can please help me in welcoming John, giving him a big round of applause, and John will go ahead and take it from here.
Well, thank you, Sophia. And my role here is very, very short, but it's great to see you all here. And I just want to personally, acknowledge all of you here. I know this, as Sophia had mentioned, that you are all pursuing or considering pursuing a Flex MBA, either the Flex Evening MBA or the Executive MBA. And I personally, as you probably saw from that slide, have spent the most amount of my career in higher education working specifically with those students. So I know personally, because I've been one of those students myself, I know personally the challenges that you are going through by pursuing your MBA part-time, whether it's executive or Flex Evening, while also having family commitments, while also having a full-time job. It is a big, big commitment that you're planning and pursuing, and we're going to take care of you. You're going to hear all about the Rady Action Project, which I'm excited to introduce Sandy Kenny, but you're also in for a transformative experience. So for those of you that are entering this fall, we're excited to have you. For those of you that are thinking about applying, don't wait. It is a transformative journey, and we can't wait to work with you. So my role here is very brief. I am very, very pleased to introduce Sandy Kenny, who is going to take up the majority of this presentation here. She is our brand new executive director of our Rady Action Projects. And we actually recently hired Sandy a few months ago. We are excited to steal her away from her prior institution, the University of Arizona, where she has been extremely successful. She was the executive director of business consulting there at the University of Arizona for about 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. And I just wanted to, and we're so excited to have her lead this capstone project for our MBA program here at Rady. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that she did at the University of Arizona. She prospected many, many, many projects and cultivated corporate sponsors, including Microsoft, Intel, Gore, Raytheon, Tucson Electric Power, with 80% of the project sponsors that she worked with returning year over year. She negotiated all those relevant project scopes of work for students every quarter, developed the academic curriculum, planned and executed events for all the courses that she taught, client kickoff meetings, end of semester finale events, and in collaboration with the management team there. And achievements, a significant increase in client relationships for the university, as well as held client 99% satisfaction ratings, which is huge. She also won several teaching awards as well. So we are very excited to have Sandy Kenny lead this capstone, and it is a brand new capstone for us. And before I introduce Sandy, I just wanted to mention why we've made that change. As Audrey and our team know here, we have made many changes to our MBA program over the past year, many changes, which really impact the student experience. We're excited to have quite a few new electives that we've introduced. We have some brand new MBA certificates. We have a brand new format for our executive MBA program. We have brand new international immersions that you can take advantage of. So there's just a lot more going on. And this change, this specific change, was a curriculum change we made to the Rady MBA program specifically. It's only for the Rady MBA. So full-time, flex evening, and executive MBA students are going to do Rady action projects. It is not available for our other master's programs. But the reason why we made that change is that we had a signature capstone here. It was called Lab to Market. Maybe some of you have heard of Lab to Market. And it was essentially entrepreneurial focus, where students can take a concept over the course of 3 quarters. And it was a long window to do that. And they learned how to bring a product to market. And many of our students enjoyed that, but there were quite a few of our students that wanted to pursue more of a consulting projects course. So while students enjoyed us, they gave us feedback that it wasn't quite hitting the mark, and we decided to revamp our curriculum and really create a capstone experience that fed into the interests of both sides of our students, the ones that really want to pursue an entrepreneurial path and the ones that want to pursue a consulting path. So you, as Flex MBA students, get to choose which path you want to pursue, whether you want to pursue a consulting project or whether you want to pursue an entrepreneurship project. And we're excited to provide a choice for our students because you have experience. You have several years of experience in the professional world. Some of you are executives already, and you really kind of know exactly where you want to go. So we're really pleased to offer you that choice here. So we're really excited about a lot of the changes that we have, and a lot of them hit us all at the same time. But one of them, this is our flagship change that we're changing. It is our capstone course. I'm very pleased to introduce, here's Sandy Kenny to walk you through our brand new capstone Rady action project. So please take it away, Sandy. We're excited to have you.
Thanks, John, and welcome everyone. I can't wait to meet you all in person. I will say something about Rady action projects that is common across all the top-notch MBA programs. The top 25 programs in the country offer a course like this so that students can build their resume. And what I mean by that is not, I know that you're working now, so you have probably a very strong resume, but one of the opportunities that you can do with this class is bring a project from your company and work on it during this class. And what this will give you is that kind of spotlight on what you can do or what you can bring to the company. Because most people go for an MBA, at least I did when I was in corporate, and I went in the evening because they want to move up. They want to get a promotion. They want to move maybe to a different discipline. So this allows you to possibly select a project or to do a project that in your company that you would like to do and get some notoriety for. It also will help you to understand, and again, because of your experience, you understand how to deal with uncertainty and ambiguity, but this really challenges you to work with people that you don't normally work with to do that. And a lot of times in corporations, you are put on cross-functional teams to deliver something, and the ones that shine in that experience that can collaborate tend to rise to the top and move up. So this will be an experience that will allow you to talk about that. If you're not from the States, it will allow you to understand the work culture in the US. I think the most important thing, though, is in this class, I'm not teaching you marketing or finance or accounting. I'm giving you a framework and teaching you the basics of consulting. But really what you're going to get out of this is, being able to talk about how you collaborated, learning how to tell a story and sell yourself and your idea professionally, and how to do that throughout the process. Next slide. Okay, so basically this class is designed so that you solve a business problem. So the reason I suggest that the evening and the executive students bring a problem from the corporation is because, again, that will allow you to spotlight your talents and take it back to your corporation. You with a group of your peers, so typically we have 5 students on the projects, will solve a business challenge. You will work with the client on a weekly basis via a conference call with them. And as you update them on how you're doing on the project. So that is between the students and the client. You meet with me on a weekly basis as the instructor in your small teams with each of the projects. But we really want you to deal with the client and begin to become comfortable with managing that situation. One of the things with this course that is true to nature is that it does take 10 hours. So I scope the projects with the clients, and basically we scope the projects for 5 students to work each 10 hours a week. And that is doing research. That is meeting with your client. That is meeting with your team. So there is work that needs to be done. And clients, the reason we were able to have, 80% return rate and 99% satisfaction from our clients was because our students were so committed. Our students had pride. They brought the brand to the table and said, this is what we're about. So as Rady students, I expect only the same from all of you, because these companies that will come here will be the same companies that if you're looking to change industries, if you're looking to move jobs, these are the types of companies that will look to hire you. That's why they come. That's why they engage. Again, the learning objectives, I always like to point this out because I'm not teaching accounting or finance or marketing. You're coming to the table with that knowledge that you've gathered from the other faculty. And I'm teaching you how to collaborate, how to break down a problem, how to tell a story, how to understand the consulting process. So next slide. Okay. So this is important because if you've not taken an experiential learning class, it's very different than a traditional learning class. And I started to add this because students sometimes got confused. In a traditional class, which most of us all are very familiar because we spend how many years going through traditional school, right? Its instruction is led by the teacher, and it's typically accounting or finance or marketing or whatever. It's a single discipline. And all of that learning that occurs happens in the classroom. And the teacher tells you, this is what I want. And then they test you on it, right? And if you do well on the test, wow, you get a great grade. Okay, but with project-based learning, it's very different. So instruction is student-led. So you are leading your own learning. And what I mean by that, through research, through working with the client, I am defining the process and the structure of how to do that, right? And then there might be multiple disciplines, like we might have a market analysis that has pricing. So some accounting and finance and some marketing and there'll be some research. So there's multiple disciplines. It's not just one. All the learning happens outside the classroom, typically. We do meet on a regular basis, but I'm meeting with you to help you overcome challenges, not to tell you what to do. That is not my role. My role is to coach rather than to tell you what to do. Part of the process of experiential learning is learning how to feel uncomfortable. And a lot of times students have a lot of anxiety over it because you're always wondering, are we on the right track? Is this what the client wants? And the only way you can understand that is by asking the client and beginning to have that communication back and forth with the client, okay? So success in experiential learning is offering a value-added solution, but also the way that my classes run is I judge you on the process. How do you go through the process? Having spent 20 plus years in corporate, I was very successful in corporate, rose to the highest ranks at a very young age. And I will say that success is how you collaborate, how you engage with other people, how you handle stress, how you handle an argument, because there are going to be arguments and challenges. So how do you go through the process? Do you learn when you get feedback, when your teammates say you cut them off? Are you learning? Are you listening? Are you taking that in? That also is graded. And then in order to really understand how you do, self-reflection is a big part of experiential learning. Where did I start? What did I learn? What was I really good at when I started? What did I get better at because of this process, because of this coaching? So that's the process with experiential learning. Next slide. So this is just a very high level consulting process. This process is the same for most consulting companies. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 2, sometimes, but the process and how you go through the process is basically the same. It's just how many steps. So currently right now, I am meeting with different clients and I'm writing up scopes and we're going back and forth as far as what students can do and what they're capable of doing and how much time they have. And then when you come in and you select this course, I will give you a survey and ask you to select your team. So in the past, when I was at the U of A, because we had so many different disciplines, we selected the teams. But I have decided here that because we're all MBAs, that you all can self-select your teams. And so you will self-select your top three teams. And then depending on experience and what the client's going to request, I will put the teams accordingly. Then we spend the first class working up team contracts. How are you gonna work with your peers? Is attendance important? Can you do it online? Can you, what's the grace period? 10 minutes late, what have you? So this team contract is developed by the team based on the team's values. So that is all discussed and decided on. Most of our clients ask for a non-disclosure agreement. So that's why I have to meet with each team individually, because the clients, as the program gets more mature and we develop, they use these solutions and they implement. I would say at U of A, they implemented probably 70% of our solutions were implemented into real projects. And so they're very private about what is shared. That means they don't want you talking over dinner or over a snack about your project. They wanted to keep it private. So you will either sign the non-disclosure from the university or you'll sign the non-disclosure from the client. Most of the clients I've talked to so far, even though we're not exchanging financial money, they still want to have that done. And then we'll have a kickoff meeting. So the kickoff meeting will be about an hour and a half or so where you will meet with the client, and this will be most likely through Zoom, and you will drill the client on the scope that I have worked out. Because out of that meeting, what you really want is to come up with a plan, a project charter plan that's going to say what you're going to do as a team, what are your milestones, what you need from the client, and what have you. And that's the project charter and the finalized project objectives and questions. Then you'll begin to do research. You'll begin to research how you're going to break down the problem. Maybe meet with faculty. If you have something you don't understand, you might meet with one of the core faculty just to get some insight from them. And we ask that you create a work plan. In all of consulting, there is a work plan which breaks down all the tasks and says who's going to do what and how long it's going to take. And that's what we'll discuss when you come into my room to have class. And then you'll begin to meet with the client on a regular basis. Then we move to analysis, solution, and development. You begin to come up with your solution. You take all that research that you've done and you put together your solution, right? And then from there, you're going to give a final presentation to the client and an executive summary. And some of our clients do ask for a 2 or 3 page report on whatever it is you want done. So I look forward to this because I think the Rady students are going to be just as strong, just as capable to give our clients the value they want. The clients over the years have been really excited about the value they have gotten from the students. The way that you think through things is different than their own organization in their own culture, right? So it's out of the box thinking. They get a different perspective from you all. Next step. Okay, so these are an example of some of the clients. All of these clients on this page have committed that they want to do projects with me. Some of them take a little longer than others because of how large of corporations they are. Even though we're not changing money, they have to get approvals. So, but all of them have given me a yes, maybe not a yes for September if we can't get it done, but a yes for moving forward. So, and I have worked with most of these clients in the past. So, that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandy. All right, guys, I know that you're probably sitting here and the wheels are turning and you probably have questions for Sandy about how is this going to look? What can you expect? And I think she ran through a lot of that. But as you're thinking about some of those questions that you might have, I want to run through some real quick admissions information with you. Some of you have heard this before. Some of you, this will be the first time, and I'll try to get through it. That way we have enough time for questions at the end. Okay. So next slide, I'm going to talk about our MBA programs that we offer here at Rady. We do offer a full-time MBA program. It is 92 units. It can be completed in 21 months. It is during the daytime and the weekday classes. And this is a full immersive experience. Our students are not working while taking this program. And the average years of experience that students have in this program is around 5 years. Now, most of you will fall into the following two buckets, which is the Flex MBA program or the executive program. The MBA Flex Evening program is 80 units. This can be completed in 24 to 27 months. These are only weeknight classes. So 2 days a week, 2 classes a quarter is what you're going to be taking. 4 classes are typically held Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And usually students in this cohort have an average of 8 years of industry experience. Now for the executive program, this program is the same amount of credits. You're taking 3 classes a quarter. You're only coming on the weekends, 1 weekend a month. And this is more of a hybrid asynchronous format where most of that instructional learning will be online and you'll have that immersive in-person experience on the weekend that you're on campus. And most of the students in this cohort have about 11 years of industry experience. Now, great news is there's still time to apply and there's still scholarship available. So if you haven't already completed your application, here's just some key things to note and take away. Your online application, once you get started from attending this event, you'll not only get the application fee waiver of $200, you need a couple simple documents, one being a current resume. There's a few short essay questions, 2 longer essay questions. All you need is a copy of your transcripts. You do not need official copies just yet. You will need 2 professional recommendations, not from a faculty member previously, someone that has worked with you and overseen your work product in some capacity. The GMAT and the GRE are valid for 5 years. If you've taken those, it's optional to submit it, but it is not required to submit your application. And international students may need an English proficiency testing, but if you have questions about that, you can reach out to Christina and I for further details. All right, so now to the good stuff. How do you finance this whole, experience for yourself? So there's a lot of opportunities here at Rady. One is the Rady merit-based scholarship that you will learn about after you interview. You'll learn what it is that your merit-based scholarship will be. There's donor-supported fellowships that you can complete during the application. And if you are a UC grad at any one of our amazing UC schools, you will receive an automatic $10,000 scholarship. Right? The nice thing is there's a lot of employers that contribute to your success as an MBA student and they want to invest in you. I've seen that a lot more this year. So if you haven't already asked your employer, I would definitely go ahead and ask because employer contributions is another way to help support you financially through the program. And you can also apply for the FAFSA. There are federal student loans as well as private loan options. Okay, so how do you get to meet all of these amazing people, right? Myself, maybe Sandy, Christina, John, Audrey, we're all going to be at this next event. Now, this next event is our last recruiting event of the year. It's going to be at New English Brewery. It's going to be next Friday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Christina and I will have our committed students there. We'll have people who are thinking about it. We'll have people who've already interviewed in all different stages of the process. And most importantly, we'll have a good group of current students there. So we've been able to run through a lot of the logistical steps of the MBA program with you, but now is your opportunity at this event to really dive into finding out what the student experience is like firsthand. So make sure you register. We'll make sure to put the link to registration in the chat so that if you haven't done so, you can do so now while we're working through these next questions that you might have for Sandy. All right. And if you haven't,
can I add something, Sophia? Can I add something real quick? Yeah, great. Scan that code, make appointments with us. What I wanted to add, just briefly about both of these, the Flex programs, you actually can take your electives whenever you'd like. So for example, if you start in the evening program, but you're like, hey, you know what? I've got to travel this next, period of time, and I really can have a hard time coming to class at night. You can actually take your electives with the, a hybrid elective with executives. And the same goes for executives. If you're like, hey, I want to be on campus, or there's a specific class you want now, exactly right now, you have that opportunity to come at night. The benefit of this is you have the opportunity to switch around every quarter. You have a lot more flexibility in terms of getting the classes you'd like, and your network is much bigger because at any one particular time, we have basically 4 MBA programs floating around. And so that's a good group of people that can be part of your network if you choose to do so. And it's just a nice, that's where the flex comes from, is that, you get to be flexible. So yeah, I just want to make sure you understood that. And, be happy to share more with you if you'd like to set up an appointment with us. And we definitely come next, was it Friday night? Because how many times is the state of California going to buy you a beer? Maybe our next event, but not very often. So I definitely take advantage of that.
all right. So I'm going to open it up, see who has questions. I know I've given you guys plenty of time to kind of think through it. You guys have been to several of our presentations. You could take yourself off mute. You can just raise your hand. You could drop a question in the chat. Does anybody have, I see some people, Heather, I saw you take yourself off.
I do have a quick question. Yeah, so I guess I'm curious. I know oftentimes we were talking about the problem that the client would provide. And I know a lot of times one problem will develop into many problems. So I was just curious, as far as that process goes, is there freedom in throughout the process having your initial problem kind of emerge to a new problem or things along those lines?
Okay, so we do a scope, and one of the things that we try to encourage the students is to have the client to stay within scope. Now, as we know, large corporations sometimes change directions or can't get data or whatever. So there are exceptions, but we don't like that to keep growing on, because in the past, in my past life at U of A, we had semester and they kept adding things. Our students were very good, got very efficient. I'm like, no. They're working on this scope. This is what you ask them to do, because we don't want it to get out of control. We want to make sure it's contained. And part of that is the student team. I coach them on how to manage through that process. So that's part of the learning. How do you push back on a client? How do you say, how do you tell them no without getting them upset? Does that answer your question?
That does, yeah, thank you.
Any other brave souls? This is the one opportunity you will have to have Miss Sandy right in front of you for just this short period of time until it is that you get to her class.
Then she's going to grade you.
This is Jessica Coleman. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I have a question. When I looked at the example slide of companies that have participated in the program in the past, a lot of it looked tech related, but being that we're in a biotech pharma heavy area, are other companies in that sector included?
We will open our doors to anyone willing to work with us, Jessica, because here's the thing. I had an objective to get projects. These were where my relationships were. So that's where I went first this time. As people at Rady introduced me to different people, or if you come from a biotech company and introduce me to your management, we're open to whatever projects we can.
So Sandy, I have a question about that. So you mentioned earlier that if someone is has a project within their own organization, they can take it to the class.
Yes. So what we
That's
would have
amazing.
to,
Just so you know, people, that's really amazing to be able to do that. I've actually never seen that before. Usually the students have to stick with what's brought in. So if
yes.
you're at a biotech, you know, you could bring your biotech.
Exactly. And I actually have some people who have already reached out to me. What would happen if you're interested is that I ask that you make an electronic introduction to me with whoever it is that's going to kind of lead the project from your client side. And then I'll work through, because there's still a scope. We don't just leave it open-ended. I have to make sure they understand the expectations of the clients, that they have to meet with you on a regular basis, what we're expecting, and what can be done and what can't. And so I kind of man that gatekeeper of that. You're more than welcome to participate if you know this person and you want to participate. If you don't want to participate, you can just make the electronic introduction and I'll take it from there. So I actually had a few students already for a winter do that, introduced me to a couple of people where I've begun conversations.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Oh, Ryan, I saw you take yourself out.
Yeah, you mentioned that this was kind of built as a replacement to the lab to market initiative that you were doing, and talked about it kind of equally allowing for the more consulting angle and the more entrepreneurial angle. What I've heard you talk about here has largely been from a consulting direction. What does this look like on the more entrepreneurial side?
So there's another class and it's not mine. It's a separate class. So that's why I didn't address it. Mine is just purely consulting because that's my background is purely consulting. So there's a team that does the entrepreneurship side. So I'll let the others speak to that.
I can address that real quickly for you, Ryan. So yes, I did mention that you have a choice when you're a Flex MBA student here. So you could either take the Rady Action projects that Sandy does, which is really consulting focused. There's also a sequence of classes. So the entrepreneurship side of this is actually 2 classes. So Sandy's class is 1 standalone capstone course with, if you decide to pursue the entrepreneurship track, it's 2 classes. There's a new venture design class that you take, and it's taught by Michael Meyer. And then you take the entrepreneurship version of RAP, which is taught by another instructor. And it's a similar focus. You can also bring in a concept and take that concept all the way, or you can work with a startup and get them ready to go to market. So it is a different sequence of classes, but there's 2 courses in the entrepreneurship sequence.
And how does that interact with, for example, some of the like accelerator like programs that you have available?
There's a lot of interaction there. So we have a Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, the Sullivan Center. And so that the team that works on the entrepreneurship side of the capstone works very closely with the accelerator that we have with the Sullivan Center. So there's a lot of interaction there.
Thank you so much.
John, I have a question about that because I talked to Amy yesterday, just to clarify for students.
Sure.
So if students wanted to go that route,
Mhm.
they could take the new venture development and then new venture design. And if they take them together, that would serve as that would basically serve as their
That's correct.
stone class.
That's correct. And what
Okay.
we didn't mention is that we know, and we've already surveyed our students, that our Flex students, many of them want to do both. And you can. If you choose to do the consulting wrap, you can do Rady Action projects, you can do that. And you can also, if you choose to, you could also do the entrepreneurship sequence as well. There'll just be extra electives for you. These courses they're not offered at the exact same time. So you could ultimately take both capstones. And many of our current students that are taking Rady Action projects this year are planning to do both, Sandy. They're planning to do yours and they're planning to do the entrepreneurship track. Yes, and I saw Christina's note there. Yep, that's true.
It's a great question. Thank you for asking that one, Ryan. And thank you, John, for providing those details. Does anybody else, I know we're at time here and I do want to be respectful of everybody's evening. Does anybody else have any questions before we conclude today's meeting? No? All right, well, listen, If you don't have any other questions for any of us regarding admissions, Sandy or John or myself, we want to thank you for spending your evening here with us. We really are excited to have you or hope to hear from you if you decide to apply. Like I said, there's still time. If you have questions outside of this, you can reach us via, I believe, this email address here. So please go ahead and do jot it down. We are always available to answer any questions you might have. And I just want to say thank you to John and Sandy for taking your time to join us tonight. And we hope you all have a wonderful evening.